plan has just been unveiled for the total destruction of the economy. Sadly, at the same time, this plan is built in a way to entice young people to vote a certain way because they do not understand how economics work and how history works. As a matter of fact, it's a plan and it's called price controls, something to ease the pain of the inflation that is hitting our nation, where why not just do it now? Now, ever since last September, I've been put in the penalty box, so I've got to be careful with my words. And there are specific words we just can't say, so I'm going to call her K-pop. Do me a favor, hashtag K-pop down below, and maybe we'll actually wake up some young people as well because that hashtag. Says here, K-pop has unveiled her plan to put price controls in effect to stop inflation. And this is some interesting things right here. Robert Sterling works in the M&A materials and acquisition industry, in the food industry, works in M&A. Wrote on X, he provides readers with a detailed step-by-step summary of what would happen if price controls were to hit the grocery stores. Let me explain this. I'm going to read it from his words. I'm not going to make up my own, but I will tell you this. Price controls have never worked all throughout history of governments that were hit with inflation or hyperinflation. Okay. The government announces that grocery retailers aren't allowed to raise prices. That's number one. Number two, grocery stores, which operate on a 1% to 2% net margin, can't survive if their suppliers raise prices. So the government announced that food producers, Kraft Heinz, Conagra, Tyson, Hormel, companies like that, also aren't allowed to raise food prices. So you've got grocery stores are fixed and the food producers, because the government's like, oh yeah, we get it. If the grocery stores aren't allowed to raise prices and the suppliers do, well, they'll go out of business. So we got a better plan. And this always fails. It says, not all grocery stores are created equal. Stores in lower income areas make less money than those in higher income areas, as the former disproportionately sell lower margin prepackaged foods instead of higher margin fresh products like meat. Because stores in lower income areas aren't able to control overhead, grocery chains start to shut them down. Food deserts in rural areas, in low income urban areas alike become worse. Blue Steel, I want to thank you for the super chat, and I'm going to read it actually. Remember when the ninja said the housing market would crash, and now it is? Or maybe a good idea to get some silver and now, or gold, sorry, and now it's $2,500. Thank you, Blue Steel. It's true. I've been, and it's tough being the type of person, and I've noticed this on social media, knowing what's coming because of how much I've studied in history and telling you it's happening now because all of the little steps are being put in place that will create an event, an effect, right, in the economy. And it's time to do this and this and this now so that you can take advantage of the bad stuff. That's why I put out courses in a specific way. And I'll say this is the last day of the pre-filming discount for the Credit Score Pro. And the reason why I put out Credit Score Pro at the end was to teach people about real estate cycles, then teach people about mortgages, teach people how to start a side hustle. And I did all of these things in order so that people could start to build wealth. There are subscribers, and I'm not joking. One, his name's Chris. He started a business and he took that side hustle. He took the side hustle course and then he started building up money. He says he's never been worth more than he is today, 3 years after watching this channel. And that's not because, well, it is. I do things very differently. The way I teach people and the way I conduct myself on this channel. Sometimes it's serious. Sometimes it's funny, trying to attract different types of people, but wake you up to where I show you your potential, show you the nuts and bolts to put this together, and then go race to go get ready for these events. And I'm telling you what, and this is the hardest thing, as K-pop is teaching young people that they can vote themselves prosperity. If you'll just vote for me, I'm going to stop the big bad grocery stores from raising the prices on you. The government is the reason why prices are high. Type 1 if you agree with that. And just so you know, I got a comment the other day. I love these comments. I just kicked them off the channel. They don't get to see to watch the videos or any of that stuff. I really could care less, but they're like, stop with the ones and the twos. And I'm like, I want people to, it's important that we vote. I get it. It's fake. There's all kinds of crazy stuff, but it's just like when you go out and buy a gun. Ooh, that's a hot topic, right? Every time you go and buy a registered gun, which I don't think they should be registered at all, but whatever, that's just me. Type 2 if you agree with that. My point being is that when you go buy one, it pushes the government back because they know the truth. They know the numbers, right? And it scares the piss out of them. So I want you to say what you feel, and then I want other people to look in the comments and go, how many people are typing that? How many people agree with what this crazy guy with the crazy haircut saying? That's why it's important. So grocery stores, this plan is going to utterly fail. But here's the thing. You're talking about right now, the vis prejus. I got to make up words right now, but this person is actually in office right now. How about you go up to your comatose partner, go back to Weekend at Bernie's and say, hey, let's do price controls right now. Oh, that's right. The big guy in charge right now has been a career politician ever since he was a young lad, and he's been working on destroying the world and the economy ever since. The guy's a warmonger. He's a horrible person. I'm being honest. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm calling it like I see it. So that's why she's not going to put price controls in right now. She's going to tell you she is. And I think she's about as dumb as a box of rocks, and she may try a little bit if she was to get in. All right. So let's go back into what happens with the grocery stores, right? So we're at the point where grocery stores have just been told by the government, based off of K-pop's plan, hashtag K-pop, hey, you're not allowed to raise prices. But don't worry, we're going to go tell Kraft, ConAgra, Hershey's, all of them, you can't raise your prices either because we don't want to hurt the grocery stores, right? So then the grocery stores go, oh, okay. Well, because we got a lot of poor people in this area and they're not eating as much, we're just going to close down that store and that store and that store. Well, we're not going to close them all down, but we're still going to start closing certain ones. And then you've got serious supply chain issues, right? All right. Grocery chains, which have finite shelf space. And we've done videos about how important that shelf space is. It's like a piece of real estate, and each shelf is priced at a value based off of the height of the person, the wealth of the person, and the unwillingness to be able to restrain themselves, like in grocery store aisles right next to the cash wrap. Those are called impulse shelves. Those are impulse buys. Oh, I got to have that. There's a bag of M&Ms. There's this or whatever, right? Okay. So they have finite shelf space. They start to repurpose their stores to sell more non-price controlled items, right? Hey, okay. Well, crap. We're screwed on the food, so let's sell crap, right? So everything from nutrition supplies to kitchenware to apparel and less price-controlled food products. Your local Kroger or Safeway starts to look and feel more like a Walmart. Food producers stop making products with lower margins. Grocery chains start competing with each other to secure inventory since they can't compete by offering stronger prices. They compete on things like payment terms. Small grocery chains next. Think about this, how this works out through the economy. Small grocery chains start to shut down entirely or get sold to larger chains like Kroger. In addition to not being able to cover fixed costs, a major reason for this is because they can no longer reliably secure delivery products due to producers prioritizing sales to larger customers, which are able to leverage their stronger balance sheets to offer superior payment terms. Next, what happens? Smaller food producers, which typically sell via distributors rather than directly grocery chains, start to go out of business. Because these producers have an additional step in their value chains, and because they have lower volumes, which to spread their fixed costs, their cost structure is inherently disadvantaged compared to major food producers. When grocery stores aren't able to raise prices, cutting product costs become all the more important, and deprioritizing purchases from smaller producers is an easy way to do so. All right, what happens next in the next line of evolution of price controls? Well, as the supply chain breaks down, lines start to form outside of grocery stores every morning. Cities assign police officers to patrol parking lots, and food producers draft contingency plans to assign armed escorts to delivery trucks. Stop right there. That has been prophesied by John Paul Jackson in his The Coming Storm. If you'll Google The Coming Storm, John Paul Jackson, he has now passed away. Go and look at his prophetic headlines. Your mouth will drop at how many of them have already come to pass in the last 3 to 4 years. This is not a joke. Regardless if you believe in God or not, please go and look at it. Google John Paul Jackson prophetic headlines or John Paul Jackson The Coming Storm. Okay? And we have seen this in Venezuela in recent history. Now, then what comes next? The federal government announces a program to issue block grants to states to purchase and operate shuttered grocery stores. This is dangerous. We do not want the government owning grocery stores. We do not want the government owning all kinds of things. Okay? Smaller government is better, not bigger government. Type 3 if you agree with that. Says here, the government announces that prices for all key food costs like corn, wheat, cattle, and energy are now also fixed to stop profiteers, right? They're going to turn people into demonize people that are profiting, right? They always have to have a boogeyman, even though they don't specifically arrest anyone. Remember what happened in 2008 with all the bankers that were profiting off this? Nobody went to prison. Right? They only became bigger. That's the plan. Most people do not think about the details in life or really call the government to action. Next, and this is they're stopping the profiteers from gouging the now government operated food industry. Shocking. And again, think about this. When they go after the profiteers after the government has bought the grocery stores, they now are running the grocery stores. They need to now do what's called controlled opposition. Please hear me. Where they now have to come up with an enemy, a fake enemy that is attacking them and hurting them. And these profiteers, these private people, these companies are trying to profit off the government, us, and all we're doing is trying to help you. This is very serious. It's called controlled opposition. It's taught in the government in 3-letter agency. I gotta be careful what I say, but it's the truth. And what they do then is they get the people. Now think about this. You're at a dinner party. I'm going to break this down as logically as possible. You're with a libtard. There's no other way of saying it. Somebody that can't think critically and just listens to a headline, and that's just the truth. They're just complete tools. I did a whole video about it yesterday, about the banks. And they're all emotional. They can't control themselves. The second they hear a headline, their hands go up in the air and they're like, oh my gosh. They lack zero critical skills. They freak out. And so they're being told by the press that the government is here to help, and they have taken over a lot of these abandoned grocery stores and food producing companies. And then they're told that the government's now being attacked because there are people trying to profit the private sector, and they're trying to just swallow up all. This is communism. They're trying to swallow up all of the mom and pop shops, all the grocery stores, all of the food producers, right? And so they get a certain type of person on their side. So you're sitting at dinner with one of these type of people, and you're saying, I cannot believe the government is swallowing up all of the food producers, all of the grocery stores, all of the food supply chain. Pretty soon, they're going to be able to inject whatever they want in our food. They're going to be able to control us. If they find out that we're saying something or reposting, please hear this. Please hear, how big of a deal is this? Type 10 if you know what I'm talking about. Right now, because you're seeing this in Europe. If we repost the truth that the government is about to control our entire food supply chain, and they are going to do bad things with this if we repost something. Oh, sorry, you have no control. You have no what, you can't come to our grocery store. You reposted something of what we're doing. This is happening in the other side of the world right now, right? And I want you to understand it's happening in a Western world. This is not a third world country this is happening in. They are taking over. The government is taking over. This is what communism is. See, we've already pushed into socialism. We're there. We are now going into, they want communism, and it's a plan. And it's so easy to see as you have K-pop already in charge of the country saying, you know what, when I get in, I'll start price controls. That's what this whole video is about. This is how dangerous this is. This is how serious it is. Now, how do you combat this? That's what everyone wants to know. You have to become self-sufficient. You have to become wealthy. And I'm not just talking to one of you. I'm talking to millions. And I'm trying my hardest to show you all of these steps that happen in order lead to tyranny. And many would argue that we're already there because, like myself, they've read enough history books, been through enough financial crisis that they see the next one coming is going to be worse. This is very, very scary. This is why I've been trying to teach everyone for 3 years. The other day I did a video with a title that said, hey, I pulled all my money out of crypto. And first 10 seconds, I sold all of my trading position. I've still got some stuff stored away for a rainy day. That's nothing compared to my trade. I traded, and people just melted down. Oh my gosh, I can't. I'm like, look, I'm not a financial guru, but I think we're headed towards rough times and everything goes down. I've been teaching people this for 3 years. Everything goes down when times get rough, right? Gold, silver, everything, boom. And what holds? Dollar and treasuries, right? I do believe there's a day where the government's going to default on certain debts. I think it's going to get that rough, but that's the decision I made. Then the next day I come out of the video, people melted down. I said, get your money out of the banks now. And within the first 5-10 seconds of the video, I said, just so you know, I'm using this title to wake people up because the algo loves pushing this out there. And I said, I still have my money in banks, but I've separated them based off FDIC limits because you're $250,000 or $500,000 for a married couple is the limit per bank that's insured. And people seem to think that the FDIC is just going to go, no, we're not going to insure it. The government will print money at all costs just to keep up with the FDIC limits. Why? Because first off, very few accounts in this nation are guaranteed by FDIC. That's the truth. It's not going to take a ton of money to print to go do that. And the second they don't guarantee those accounts, because they're just going to look at everyone else and say, sorry, you're not that bright. We have the plaques everywhere. We tell you the rules all the time. They're just going to wither into nothing. Like all these non-banks that are failing, like Yada Bank right now. You see them like up in arms and pitchforks? They're like, well, yeah, we invested our money with a non-bank and it failed and we're screwed. And that's how human nature works. But to fight this tyranny that's happening, you have to become wealthy. And I'm not talking about just a few of us. Like the whole middle class needs to become wealthy again. How do you become wealthy? Well, you learn how to take out the right debt to make money. To take out that kind of debt, you need a good credit score, save a ton of money. And with your savings, you actually save it, right? We become a saving nation. And then you invest properly with proper due diligence, proper conviction, proper, this is hard. I believe that we are going to see a famine in our country because the supply chain's breaking down, regardless of who gets into the presidency next. I hope you understand that. It has been prophesied many times. I believe it's coming. I believe one of the reasons is because of a trade war with China and Russia. And what's going to happen is because China and Russia have already started an alliance with so many countries. I hope you understand this, that overnight. And oh, here's another thing. The reason why I know this, your example is when Russia invaded Ukraine. How fast did certain supply chains instantly stop? Like that. And I believe it's going to hit the food distribution network. And so it is important to have some emergency food on the side, right? You know, I bought emergency food buckets like 15 years ago. And they've got like 5 years left. And there are people that have mocked me since then, like, look, nothing's happened, man. I'm like, no, you're right. But once I did it 15 years ago, my mind cleared up and I started investing. And I am way wealthier than all those people mocking me. Back then I was, and today even it's not even comparable, because I was able to set aside, go buy a water filter, go buy food, all that stuff, and I go, I'm good. And at a certain point, I'll have to go buy some more because it'll just expire. All right. The point being is, when you get ready, you free up a spot in your mind for more critical thinking, for more amazing things to take you to the next level. But most people run around like a chicken with their head cut off and worry rather than doing something about it today. Remember what happened in 08. As stocks started trending down, gold and silver came down. We're going to see that with crypto. It's going to be interesting. And I would be completely worthless if I didn't warn you of a coming stock market correction that always happens every 7 to 10 years. They have big ones every 50 and 100 years ahead of time. Whereas all these other ass clowns on the internet, all they do is tell you what's going on right now. And hey, why don't you buy an index fund? Hope you got something out of this. We're going to have a pretty exciting 3 months. If you want the Credit Score Pro, it's last day of the pre-filming sale. It's $39. If you want to learn how to take your credit from zero to hero and never go back to a bad credit score again. And I'm actually talking 720 is a bad credit score. I know that sounds crazy. You should be above 800 if you want to take advantage and save tons and tons of money. Hope you have a great day. The Economic Ninja is out.